I mean, you're an ECW original. Why do you think that WWE's version of ECW didn't work out?
That can be said for a lot of things that Vince McMahon didn't create. I think it's
Hmm.
pretty obvious. I mean, he protects his brand, which is, you can't blame anybody for that. But I feel like I've heard, like, just right in front of me, like, that he was a star in that other place, and that was almost a kiss of death. I was lucky because I was kind of up there, but I was never known to the casuals or to maybe his eyes as a top guy from there, which I think almost was a benefit to be sort
Yeah.
of unknown. But yeah, I don't know what happened with that. The WWE version of ECW had a different look. I loved coming through the crowd on the entrance thing instead of a ramp. Um, Obviously, it was a vehicle. I think the whole thing was a vehicle for Punk. And if that was the result that they wanted out of that, they made their money back on the investment. And what I heard from Joey Styles one time, I think it was Joey or somebody within the office, that ECW was the most profitable brand of all three because of the investment in it and then the return. You didn't have to put as much money into
Mm.
ECW. Plus, the Rise and Fall DVD was the top one or even the top five for how many years? So
Yeah.
that
Well,
was a cash cow right there.
the problem was it wasn't ECW. So to even call it ECW, I mean, I was a huge ECW fan. To call it ECW didn't feel right because it wasn't. It wasn't ECW.
It wasn't, but it. I'll back up. I don't know if you ever interviewed Tommy Dreamer.
Yes, I've interviewed Tommy a few
Has
times.
Tommy told you the story that, like, I remember one night stand before when they announced it was relaunching, he was in touch with Shane McMahon. And this was around the time I believe that we were doing the training too in Stanford, because Dreamer was in on those training sessions, taking half the beating as well as me from Shane. Uh, but Dreamer told me, and Rob had talked about it too, Rob Van Dam, that it was supposed to be like all ECW, even the agents. I think Jerry Lynn was supposed to, I mean, it was all supposed to be kind of encapsulated in his own brand. And it did start out where we were doing house shows. I think the first one was Racine, Wisconsin. I wrestled Al Snow, and it was a very much an ECW style crowd. And I think that's what we were talking about. Maybe even one building where it looked like the ECW arena for
Yeah.
TV. You know how things happen. It gets in different people's hands, and then it was out of control. And I think Tommy was very, very hurt by that because he was in the office, but they weren't letting him have the vision that him and Paul wanted to have.
Well, Tommy told me, and I think this is very public knowledge, that Vince McMahon was helping Paul Heyman like ensure that ECW was going to stay in business for a while.
Yes. I mean, we didn't know it at the time because we were pumped up to think they were the enemy. Although deep down, I made visits to Stanford while I was with the company, and I was friends with Vince Russo. I would talk to Vince Russo all the time. So yeah, I mean, but to Paul's credit and to his defense in some ways, that's what was needed to motivate us. If we were working, what would people do if, like, within the locker room, if WWE was funding us and he'd been telling us they're the enemy all along?
Yeah.
And that we needed to make our own names. Maybe half of the guys would have went up there and been turned into a joke gimmick and undone all the stuff that Paul had produced. They kind of did it anyway.
Yeah.
As guys were going up there.
So sad to see like what happened. Mike Awesome was dominant in ECW, and then he goes to WCW and WWE, and it's like, oh, that's not even the same guy.
Yeah, and he's not around anymore. So that's, I mean, it's sad. He was a nice enough guy. Whenever I met him, he was right, not for his size, much like Viscera. Also, rest in peace to him.
Yeah,
just as gentle as can be and nice and cool. Two cool guys, at least to me, they were.
Yeah, I feel like you could have, with the momentum you had in ECW, they really could have utilized you in a mid card, like, or even higher tier in WWE. And I feel like, and you said it many times, you're just kind of there to put people over.
Yeah, and I wasn't even given the opportunity to do that. It was actually a joke when, like, Joey wasn't making a mean joke, but he was like, you know, it was like months down the line. I was there for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then you didn't see me, and I wasn't heard. It was like Joey's like, Stevie Richards has a little bit of trouble getting out of the gate here in the new ECW. It's like, well, I'm not getting booked. But yeah, I was just a guy. I was actually, I was in a good spot, I think, because I was attached to Punk so many times.
Yeah.
We had some matches that I feel like really in a way carried that brand. And if I was on the losing end of all those, and like I said, if it was a vehicle to get Punk over to the next level, I'm fine with having a part with that.
Yeah.
Now, if you make me into nothing and I'm just a guy that always loses in the really good competitive matches with Punk, I believe it only lessens him over time.
Yeah.
Why is he having so much trouble beating this guy that everybody beats?
Hey, it's Chris, and thank you so much for checking out this video on my brand new YouTube channel, CVV Clips, which, as the name suggests, we're gonna post clips from some of my favorite interviews. Don't worry, the main channel isn't going anywhere, but if you subscribe to that one, make sure you subscribe here as well. Also, check out these videos down here that YouTube thinks you might like.